I have had more enjoyable experiences during root canals than I had tonight watching this 3 hours of Monday Night Raw nonsense. Holy shit. I don't know about y'all, but this does not feel like WrestleMania season to me. Ay, ay, ay. My God. What's going on, guys? What's up? Good mic work back at you. Raw review for March 29th, 2021 is what we're getting into tonight. This is our, I believe our fourth night of streaming, and it's been a great weekend, but man, did they shit the bed here tonight. We are 2 weeks away from WrestleMania. Next week is the go-home show, and this Raw, aside from a couple of bright spots, especially with Drew McIntyre, great Randy Orton promo, maybe something else here or there, for the most part, this show was just a complete mess from top to bottom. We've got, hey, hey, hop, hop songs. We got Game Night with New Day and AJ and Omos and Pictionary and fucking Jenga. We got Matt Riddle forgetting his lines. This shit was just an absolute mess, and there was very little that was done to really build or forward anything at WrestleMania at all, except for maybe the main event, which at least that is good in terms of the title. But there's a lot of questionable stuff going on there as well, that's attached with the Hurt Business splitting up and all of this. This was I don't often just come up here and just shit on Monday Night Raw for 3 hours. I mean, that's not what we're going to really do. But when it comes to, really, really just bad, pointless Raws that didn't do anything for your big show that you have coming up here in 2 weeks, this is right at the top of the list. This show was largely skippable. I was extremely tired, damn near fell asleep one time during a couple of these matches here. It was just really hard to concentrate. I did not have a good time at all making these notes and trying to prepare for the podcast tonight, because I'm like, what the hell are we going to talk about here? Like, what are we really going to talk about? Some of this stuff is so ludicrous. It amazes me how WWE can be, can micromanage every aspect of certain parts of their company. But then the most important part, like creative and keeping people interested, invested, and tuned into your program, seems to be like the last fucking thing in the world they seem to give a shit about at all. And I thought maybe they were saving up for some big reveal at the end, because sometimes when we see these really bad Raws or these really bad pay-per-views, they basically just put all their eggs in one basket and hit you with some big surprise. I kind of thought that surprise might be Charlotte, and we've got some news to discuss concerning her here in just a minute. But at the end, just when we've already had this 3 hours of very bad television, we now cap off the night with just the most wonderful cherry on top in the world in Baron Corbin. Are you fucking kidding me? Usually some big run-in or some big surprise at the end is going to be, something major around the time of WrestleMania. And here it's Baron Corbin. Granted, it's not a real true WrestleMania season. It is still in a pandemic, even though there's going to be fans there. Things are not going the way they usually do for WrestleMania. So there are some things I'm willing to give them a pass on, but this complete lack and utter just nothingness of attempt to try to make anything creatively good for WrestleMania is the most frustrating part. It feels like they don't give a shit. And they're just, let's just do this kind of thing. And that's just not a good attitude to have. And when wrestling companies have had attitudes like that, it's usually led to their demise. But WWE's claws are dug in so deep now, they're not going anywhere. But goddamn, was this hard to watch. Jesus. But we'll be getting into it. We'll open up with a little bit of wrestling news, because I definitely want to discuss Charlotte and what Andrade had talked about in an interview that he just recently did that was then clarified by Charlotte's camp. We've got some Hall of Fame news to get into, and we'll probably run through the WrestleMania card and stuff. I think there was one more match announced tonight for sure, or was there two? I'll have to look at that. I think it's just one, but anyway, overall, this show was just, I understand that it's not your typical WrestleMania season, but nothing about this WrestleMania build has screamed WrestleMania to me at all. It's been, largely a letdown in a lot of ways. And I'm not even pointing out like the lack of like star power or anything like that, because I'm actually okay with that. I don't need Triple H and Undertaker on every fucking show. So it's not even that. It's just it doesn't feel like any effort was really gone into the creative part of this at all. And their matches are just kind of sitting here with WWE probably not going to decide what they're going to do on a lot of these matches until after over morning pancakes on WrestleMania Sunday or Saturday or whatever. So like day of type of shit. And I don't know. I still think WrestleMania is going to come off pretty well. It's still a pretty stacked card. I'm sure WWE will care very much about how that show comes off. But literally everything leading up to that has been largely a mess. I haven't even enjoyed the past couple of SmackDowns. And usually SmackDown is watchable. And probably the last two or three, I haven't really, just same old shit. Same thing tonight, like same shit that we see on SmackDown. and Raw and everything. You know, what happens when you got two baby faces having a big match on a pay-per-view coming up? You team them up. That's what they're doing with Bianca and Sasha, and now they're going to do that shit with Asuka and Rhea Ripley next week as well. What happens when you need to make a title match? You pin the champion. Like we already saw last week on SmackDown, Big E gets pinned. This week, Matt Riddle gets pinned. And presto changeo, there you have your WrestleMania match. And that's the problem with these 3-hour Raws. They could have just skipped the match between Riddle and Sheamus tonight and just done the match at WrestleMania instead of doing one in between where you got to do the pin the champion thing again, which is done on average, I would probably say 2 to 4 times per month. In WWE, champions get pinned in matches. And that's way too much, and it's so fucked up. And yeah, WrestleMania. Anyway, hello, everybody that's here, hanging out so far. If you're here, please give this video a thumbs up because we will not be giving one to Monday Night Raw tonight. I'll knock out a couple of super chats and say hello to those of you who are here right now. And then we'll get into the Charlotte stuff, the Hall of Fame stuff, and then roll through the Raw results. And I'll give you guys my schedule, what you guys can expect from me coming up this week and heading into WrestleMania week. Good to see Melissa in here. And Ryan Fippen, Big J is here, comedic genius. Martin Can, Naveed, Vince, Josh, Daryl, Gamer Boy, Sex Machine, Jet the Hawk, Zane G, Piplup, Deshaun Robinson's here, Daryl, Zane, Atomic, Cody. We've got George Morris dropping in again with the $5 super chat as always. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. Hey, Greg, how are you doing? Raw 0 out of 10. I actually agree with you tonight. Can't wait for Retromania Wrestling releasing tomorrow for Nintendo Switch. How are your cats? Mine are good. Cats are good. They're locked up in the closet right now having a little snack. And they haven't really been on the streams lately, but they're still here and they're still kicking. And unlike my old place where I used to live, they were kind of around and I couldn't really put them anywhere. But here, this house has got plenty of spots for them to kind of be out of the way. So they're all doing good. I'm glad to hear yours are too. I wish I knew more about gaming and stuff, and Nintendo Switches and shit like that to get into some of this wrestling stuff, but I don't. Good to see you as well, comedic genius. Appreciate the $2 from you. What's going on, Greg? Raw makes me hate Mondays. Man, Mondays have always just been a destination for me. I've always loved it, and man, it's literally a chore. It's a chore to watch Raw. I'd rather be doing anything else most of the time, and that's WrestleMania season. Imagine how it's going to be later on. I don't know. Let's see who's next there, and then we'll get into the news. And then we got one from Deshaun Robinson peeking in as well with 5 from you. Thanks, dude. I didn't watch Raw as usual, but I saw that Matt Riddle segment. Oh my God, I'm in tears. God bless Asuka for her reaction. Asuka saved it. I mean, Matt Riddle totally Gail Kim'd that promo. Remember in that Battle Royal when she was just mentally checked out and she just left. She just left the Battle Royal and just eliminated herself. She didn't give a fuck. And the way Riddle was talking there, it was almost like he must have thought it was taped because I don't think he would have purposely been so nonchalant if it was like live. I mean, unless he really doesn't care, unless he wants to get fired or something. But that was actually pretty funny the way he's like, they have scooters in Japan and fuck it. I don't know what I was saying. And then he just leaves. It just walks right off camera and Asuka's standing there like left with it all. And she kind of makes that funny face and it was, saved or whatever. But I mean, hell, if Matt Riddle can ever remember his lines and WWE ever does another mixed match challenge, I vote them to be a team. They'd be pretty hilarious together. So that Riddle stuff was just such a good example of how this Raw was just off the rails from the beginning. It was just one bad segment piece after another, and it just never ended. Just not a good show at all. And it's I wouldn't care. I'd blow it off normally if we had a really shitty show in the middle of the year. No problem. Whatever. Shows always suck. But here it's so close to WrestleMania, and the way they're putting these shows together is just god awful, criminal, terrible. Naveed, I hope he was too. I'd have to be to fucking do that shit all day. I loved when he was backstage talking about Sheamus last week when Sheamus attacked him. He's like, I don't know what his problem was. Maybe he had a tummy ache. I know a lot of people hate Riddle. I do like him. And maybe after tonight, after the way he just rode off for getting his lines, I might like him a little bit more. We're live, pal. That's got to be up there with the Sid one. I mean, really, when you think about it. So, funny stuff. At least that gave us something to laugh about. But anyway, let's talk a little bit before we get into Raw. Let's talk a little bit about the wrestling news and let me know what I want to let you guys know what I have planned this week. So we're coming up on WrestleMania. 1 week from tonight kicks off a complete full week of streaming here on the channel. I will be up here every single night, Monday through Monday of WrestleMania week. Go home Raw through post-Mania Raw every single fucking night. So that kicks off 1 week from tonight. So in the meantime, you're between now and then, you're only going to get me one time this Saturday for the Winged Eagle podcast. Originally, I had planned to do a watch along for Sunday, but at the time, I didn't realize that Sunday was Easter. So I'm going to have to be working that day. I'll be home at night to do a watch along, but I'm going to be very tired. Plus, I need to get kind of rested up and ready for this long week of streaming we have coming up. So after tonight, it's going to be pretty much quiet here on the channel until Saturday. You'll get me again. We'll talk all of the week's wrestling news. We'll talk the Wednesday night shows, all of the setup for, WrestleMania and TakeOver and everything else AEW is doing, and any news that we need to get into. We'll cover all of that on Saturday. Easter Sunday, I'll be off. And then the day after that, 1 week from tonight, like I said, we'll be up here to discuss the go-home WrestleMania Raw. The night after that's Tuesday, the Hall of Fame. Then we have Wednesday, Thursday, TakeOver. We got Friday for SmackDown review and WrestleMania predictions for both nights. And then Saturday and Sunday, I'll be up here reviewing both. Still up in the air. I may react to Saturday, do a live reaction with you guys, but I'm just still not quite 100% sure yet for night one of WrestleMania. Either way, you're seeing me that night. It just might. I'm not sure if it's going to be in reaction form or if it's going to be in review form. We'll figure that out. So anyway, that's coming up on the channel. So just keep an eye on that. Make sure you subscribe if you have not, because it's going to be a big week. Anyway, let's get into the news before we talk about Raw. We had some Hall of Fame news coming out today as well. What we already knew was confirmed by WWE, and that is that RVD, Rob Van Dam, will be in the class this year and be inducted into the Hall of Fame. This was reported by Fightful Select a while back, so this one was not a surprise at all. And another one that was not confirmed by WWE today, but was also reported by Fightful Select and a couple of other places, is that the Warrior Award this year is going to go to Titus O'Neil. Now that makes sense because he's hosting the event, and he's been he's just an amazingly charitable man. He does a lot of work with a lot of foundations, and he really offers his time to a lot of causes, and he's a great man. So I really have no problem with this one at all, because at least this one is in-house. At least this is one of their own people that's doing good, and they're not, because even though every person that's gotten the Warrior Award so far has been more than worthy, especially like Conor the Crusher and shit like that, some of them have been so worthy, but there's also been a couple where I feel like they've been so outside of WWE that WWE is almost using it for promotion and, self-gratification, that sort of shit. And that kind of just gives me this uncomfortable feeling. So at least, they're keeping it, with a wrestling personality, Titus O'Neil. A lot of fans were hoping that WWE would offer this award to Shad Gaspard. And that really would have been the right thing to do as well. I would have had no complaints about that. He's the one I was hoping for, absolutely, Shad. But when you look at the, what they've done here instead, Titus absolutely deserves this type of accolade for all the work that he's done. And knowing Titus, he will see to it that Shad Gaspard's name is heard during his induction speech. I'd be willing to bet anything. When he has his speech, he will at least mention him, because that's the type of dude Titus is. So congrats to him. That's, good news in the long run. I know a lot of people kind of wanted Shad, but, when it comes to WWE really doing the right thing, when do they really do the right thing? So I'm not really surprised they, kind of snubbed him or whatever, but Titus is a very worthy inductee for this particular award and what it is supposed to mean. And, congrats to him. So two big names there. And the Hall of Fame is starting to fill out. They're already starting to record, or I think they already did record all of the fan reactions for this. I think the Thunderdome fans, who I've never done the Thunderdome, I don't even know what it's like, but they were all instructed to do all these reactions, so they got them cheering and laughing and all this shit. So they're going to be plugging all that in to the Hall of Fame, which I believe is going to be taped this upcoming week, I think. Maybe it's the next week, ahead of WrestleMania. I forgot, but they got a lot of tapings coming up for the Hall of Fame and everything else that they're doing. We got to talk about the Charlotte stuff, because I thought if we were going to see Charlotte come back, tonight would be the night to do it. They set up with a contract signing with Rhea Ripley and Asuka. So if we were going to see the Queen come back and get involved in this, there's an easy in. She did originally challenge Asuka first. That's all she would really have to say if she came out there. And I was curious if we would see her tonight, because we had a lot of news reported on her today. Now, Andrade had done an interview where he spoke about his release, where he spoke about the circumstances surrounding that and everything going on with his wife, and he revealed that she was informed that she had that she was pregnant, along with testing positive for COVID and all of this stuff. Well, Charlotte's team actually reached out to Alex McCarthy of TalkSport to kind of clarify a little bit of this, because the way they worded the statement is that some things were lost in translation, and they wanted to clarify. So here's the latest on Charlotte for those of you who have not seen any of this. So this is a statement from Charlotte Flair's team. What Manny is Andrade, what Manny said about the pregnancy test in today's interview is true, but a significant amount of context is lost in translation, and we'd like to clear that up as best we can. A few weeks ago, Charlotte received a call from WWE Medical telling her that her HCG levels had come back high and she was being medically suspended for pregnancy. That day, she took several home tests that all came back negative. A few days later, blood work and ultrasound confirmed that there was no pregnancy. This was before any issues with COVID. She is currently medically cleared. Goes on to say, let me pull up the next page here. Goes on to say this put a lot in context for her, mainly how small a woman's career window is. The men are able to work well into their 50s, while the women are seen as older in their early 30s even. For an athlete in her prime, these years mean everything. Her issue was with the process and how the information was relayed, as opposed to the information itself. So this doesn't really reveal too much other than she's not pregnant and she is cleared. So I don't know. I guess she's just going to kind of not be involved in Mania this year. I mean, unless they bring her out next week or whatever, but it seems like she is legit off the show. And so this was all real sketchy, because when this was all going on at the same time that Andrade is getting a release, then he gets the type of release that you're not used to seeing superstars get from WWE, being gracious enough to not only let them go in general, but to take away and remove the 90-day no-compete clause, which is insane. And when you combine that with Charlotte's absence, they're removing her from the WrestleMania poster. She hasn't been on TV in a few weeks and all this. And then she comes out and she says COVID. She says she has COVID. And now Manny kind of spills the beans on a pregnancy deal. And that's crazy. So there's a lot happening there. But I guess WWE, just because of all the confusion, they felt the need that they need to move forward. And they just started going through the plans without her. And she didn't turn up tonight. So I guess she's not on Mania, from what I understand. So if you guys have any more news on that, let me know. But it seems like that's the latest deal with Charlotte there. So we wish her the best. That would have been interesting if she had came up pregnant. She was going to have a kid and stuff. That would have put her out for a while as well. Because you got to start thinking about that now that the women are such a big part of the roster, not just in bikini pillow fights anymore. Now that they're actually there wrestling, and there's a lot of them there and a lot of them present, they're going to be getting pregnant. They're going to be starting families and doing stuff. And that's something they have every right to do. So hopefully Charlotte is coming back. But if it turns out she, is pregnant again after this or something like that, all the best to her either way. I saw her recently. I've never watched any of Stone Cold's show that he has on the USA Network. What is it called? Straight Up Steve Austin, something like that. I saw the one with her on there, just randomly was on, and we watched it. And, just watching her, it's like she's a cool chick. I mean, it just cracks me up how much just hate she gets, because people hate when she wins matches and shit. But she's got a really good story, and she's certainly driven. She's certainly capable. She's well liked. She's respected. It's not like she's has Hulk Hogan and Shawn Michaels level of politicking to her. She's well liked by all of her peers, by the legends. She's Ric Flair's daughter, and she carries the name well. I see very little downside to Charlotte. It cracks me up how much shit she gets when she's pretty chill person. People need to give her a fucking break. So anyway, whatever she's doing, best of luck to her. As of right now, it looks like we got Asuka Ripley one-on-one at Mania. That will be great, but they've done a shitty job building this too, because Rhea just came out there, challenged her. Asuka said okay. They did a little bit here in the contract signing, little physicality, which we'll talk about, but really there's no heat here at all. It's just going to be a match to have a match. And I just wish they did more with this, because this would kind of be a dream match. If this was built right, you built these two up as the two former best that NXT has ever had to offer. It's another, I think they missed the opportunity there with Shayna and Asuka as well. They missed the boat with Shayna completely, dating all the way back to last year. But I think, these big matchups between some of these alpha females could be built up so much better if they just fucking tried. But anyway, we'll get into Raw results here in 1 second. Let me just cruise over here, knock out another super chat or two, and we'll get into the results. Daniel Rodriguez has got $2 coming in. Why is Peacock removing WWE content? Yeah, they just are, because they are. That's what happens, standards and practices and all of that shit. I don't know. I mean, WWE, this had to have been discussed beforehand. They had to have known that their shit is going to be sifted through. 17,000 hours of content is a lot. I think that's about 2 years of just straight watching wrestling. So they should have a team of people doing this. But when it comes to, when they say they're going to remove, the racist content, but just don't worry about just racist stuff and worry about everything, the entire Attitude Era. We talked about this on Saturday. There's going to be like nothing left. The Raws are going to be 15 minutes long. So there's literally hardly anything you can even do in the Attitude Era that you're going to be able to put on. Back in the 80s, when you had all the racist gimmicks and shit, you're going to have to cut all that stuff out. They're going to cut out so much. And it kind of sucks where you'd feel if they're going to buy all this content, all you would really need is, major disclaimers. I mean, when is a casual wrestling fan who doesn't know shit about wrestling going to pull up an ECW pay-per-view from 1998? When's anybody going to do that? So I think a little disclaimer is really all you would need there. But we mentioned that on Saturday too, that in this PC age, in society and stuff, it really is kind of incredible that WWE was able to pull off this deal with Peacock. It's as if Peacock doesn't know what the fuck is on their content, because when their people start looking through this now, they're going to be like, holy shit. I mean, there is some fucked up things on WWE programming that when these people see this, that's going to blow their minds. We talked about this on Saturday too. I'd hate to, because obviously they're going to have teams of people. I'd hate to be the motherfucker that gets stuck with like 1997 through 2001 or 3 or something like that. Just watch all those shows. I mean, my God, you're going to be pulling out segment after segment after every show on every show imaginable. There's not going to be any shows that you're just going to leave alone and say, that's okay. Like, something's literally going to have to come out of every show, and that sucks. And I wish these things would have been discussed beforehand. Or I wish there was a way you could still access, well, I guess you can't, but, or you could still access the WWE network if you wanted to, just to see everything. And now this sounds like they're starting to edit out some stuff from the network as well. We ran into this last night when we watched WrestleMania 6 together. By the way, thank you to everybody who was here. And luckily it was edited out of both, so we were able to follow along okay. But we might see these changes spread across everything. And then, when this deal is up, 5 years, whatever it is, and, maybe they go back to their own network or they find somebody else, are these edits going to be rejuvenated or resurrected, or were they going to put back in? Like, how is this going to work? It's just going to make it really hard to watch anything, and it sucks. But anywho, Mike McGee got 5 from you. Thanks, dude. Are you surprised that Taker wasn't inducted in this year's Hall of Fame, even though he's retired? Do you think he'll be one to induct Kane? I kind of am surprised about Taker, but I think with him, it could be a similar situation like what we heard about with Batista, that I think that WWE would rather have an audience for him. And when it came to his 30th anniversary, there was nothing you could do there. That was on the calendar. That could not be moved. The 30th anniversary was the 30th anniversary. It was on the very day. So that fell flat a lot. That was a shitty send-off for him. But and I still think even in the Thunderdome, they could have made it better than it was. But based on everything, it was just not, it wasn't what we wanted to remember The Undertaker by. And I'd rather see him go in a live environment, not in a taped deal or whatever. And I know, when big stars retire, a lot of times they go in as first balloters the next year. But it's, I don't care anymore, I guess I should say, about, because that's one thing I see on social media a lot. Whenever anybody, doesn't matter who it is, even if the person is deserving most of the time, some fan always has to say, oh, I can't believe they got in before so-and-so. That doesn't matter. It does not matter if somebody gets in before anybody else. It doesn't make them any less worthy or anything like that. You got to understand how the Hall of Fame is set up. It's just a crapshoot. It's WWE management getting around a table, throwing out names. They're not worried about who went in before who or anything like that. So none of that really matters to me as a fan at all, because it doesn't matter to WWE. So it's not going to matter to me. So when it comes to that, I can let it go this year. I think if everything was normal, we had no pandemic, never happened. Undertaker had a remarkable 30th send-off, at Survivor Series this past year, I think he would go into the Hall of Fame. But he's a guy that I think WWE really wants to make his induction special. And since his 30th kind of fell flat with the Thunderdome shit, I'm cool with maybe waiting another year in Texas. Next year will be a good spot for that, to be in Dallas. Otherwise, it might be here in LA for 39. Or maybe they wait until 40 and do it in New York, or do it, somewhere like that. I don't know. But this year is actually the 37. This year is the 30th anniversary of his first WrestleMania match, which is kind of fucking nuts. But yeah, congrats to Kane. And I'm sure Taker will be the one to do his induction, I believe, right? because that's what you're speculating on there. I thought that I read that was the case. You'd got to assume it is. There's no, actually, I'm just going to say it is. Who else? I mean, Paul Bearer's dead. There's nobody else to put Kane in other than maybe Pete Rose or somebody like that. But it's got to be Taker. It's got to be Taker. Barry MK, appreciate the 2. Bossman and Taker at WrestleMania 15 is unedited on Peacock. All right, so they're showing a hanging. That's good. At least that's something. So maybe they won't go too crazy with the edits. And that's another thing. They might have to, they're going to have to understand. They're going to see some fucked up shit. So, try to just keep it to the extreme stuff. Because when you look at it, when it comes to that Piper bad news stuff, we talked about this last night. I was fine with it not being on there. Match sucked. Neither guy wanted to. Piper didn't put people over back then, so you just double DQ'd that thing. He painted a whole half of his body black, which was just idiotic. The promo was dumb. Vince dropping the N-word still pisses me off. I cannot believe that he fucking did that. No matter how funny or whatever he thought it was, it was like he could tell the minute it came out of his mouth. He's like, shouldn't have done that. So little things like that. If you want to take those off, sure. No complaints out of me. I'm not worried about SJWs or 2PC. There are some things that are fucked up and that should be taken out of there. But just take it easy is all I'm saying. You don't have to worry about everything. And when you think about how sensitive everything is now, it really makes you worried for a lot of these shows on the Peacock network now from all the promotions. So I don't know what their standards are. I don't know what what's going to get one thing taken. If you have two things that are kind of equally fucked up and one gets edited and one doesn't, I don't know how these decisions are made. I don't know if it's up to each individual person looking at these or if they need clarification. Hey, boss, should we take this out or should we leave it or whatever, or how they decide. But they're definitely going to be on a time schedule. They want to get this done and get this up on Peacock as quickly as possible. A lot of stuff's already there. So, maybe these edits can just take place over time. But my God, I mean, this is something they have to worry about, angry parents. My kid stumbled into WWE, part of Peacock, and found a fucking pillow fight. Fuck you, Karen. Shut up. So I don't know. It worries me, though, like how bad it can get. And hopefully it just won't get too bad. But if they're leaving some shit in right now, maybe it won't be that bad and they're just looking for the real extreme stuff. And if that's the case, then I'm cool with that. I don't need to see Triple H fucking a corpse on Raw. I don't need in a Kane mask. I don't need to see it. So if they want to take that out, take it out. Don't give a shit. But just don't go overboard with it, please. God. And we got Zane hitting me with 5 as well. Appreciate you as well. Had everything. We're back to normal. And the pandemic had never happened. Last night would have been WrestleMania 37. That's right. It would have been last night. Man, because we did move the date on this. Man. And it was supposed to be here. I was supposed to be there. And leaving today for Hawaii. I'm supposed to leave today for my Hawaiian vacation. That was when it was happening. Shit. And I'm not. And we're not. Big J, I doubt it. I don't think Benoit will be edited out of everything. That would be like I don't know what that would be like, but I don't think they're doing that. I think they're looking for content that's offensive, and maybe just having somebody there that did what he did would be, but that's going to take a lot of work to edit all that out. I'm hoping they don't. No, missed any CM Punk news. I don't think it's anything, but we'll get into the Raw results now as well. Yeah, Carlos, I'm with you on that, man. I got a lot of original broadcasts saved and recorded over the years, so I've got lots of options in terms of getting away from all the editing and stuff. But anywho, let's get into Raw. Let's start talking about that. Barry, is it bad that you enjoyed watching Katie and Triple H? I don't think it's bad. Weird, but not bad. It was just that angle was just such shit. God, that angle was just made me mad because it was just a bad time. WWE was hot as hell at the beginning of the year. Remember? 2002, NWO comes in, Triple H returns, big WrestleMania, Hogan and Rock, Austin returns, or Austin is still there, I should say, but then Austin leaves, then Rock leaves, Brock wins the title, Triple H turns heel. It just went downhill quickly. They were hot as could be, January and February, dead in the water by September. It was quite the turn of events in 2002, if I remember right. But anyway, let's get into Raw tonight. A lot of this stuff was just garbage, man. My God. So anyway, Hurt Business come to the ring. Hurt Business, all of them. They had a lot of problems last week where Lashley was giving them shit in the locker room and then walked into the locker room of jobbers and basically challenged anyone in there to take out Drew McIntyre. He's taking the pussy way out here, basically looking for anybody that he can find to take out Drew McIntyre ahead of WrestleMania. And his reward and his compensation to whoever does this for him is going to get a title shot at WrestleMania. So he's agreeing to defend the belt against this person at WrestleMania after he's done, or in place of Drew, I guess is what they're saying. So nobody's taking him up on it yet, but the whole thing is just a stupid idea. Anyway, so after that, he starts giving shit to Cedric and Shelton, who lost last week. Then they lost the match with Drew. Then that match and the stipulation got them banned from ringside at WrestleMania. So he's pissed at them for losing the belts, losing to Drew, all that stuff, and then goes on to kind of kick both their asses. Shelton gets in Bobby Lashley's face a little bit. Then he decks Cedric. He goes down, and there's a big scuffle. And in the end, Lashley kind of kicks both of them out of the ring and says the Hurt Business is over. And that's when he gets on the mic and extends the invitation to anybody in the locker room to take out Drew, promising, hey, you take out Drew, I'll defend my title against you. So that whole idea, I don't really like that much, because I think he should be enough of a man just to take Drew on his own without trying to take the cheap way out. But anyway, he's the heel. That's what heels are supposed to do. So that would set us up later on, which I'll talk to you guys about in a minute. But first, we cut backstage to Matt Riddle. He's on his scooter, and he's approached, by the interview girl. I forget her name, and she asks him about what took place last week with him and Sheamus when Sheamus attacked him backstage. And he goes, I don't know, maybe he wasn't feeling good. Maybe he had a tummy ache. I don't know, whatever. Oh, hey, Titus. And then he notices Titus, and he scoots over to say hi to Titus and tells him that he asks him if he wants to roast a pig in the middle of the field at WrestleMania. And he says, and kids love ice cream. And he's just rambling on. And during all this rambling, Sheamus comes flying in and attacks him and beats him up backstage. So we're going to be getting a match between those two later tonight, non-title, which you knew was going to be done to set up the official announcement of the WrestleMania title match. So again, this shit was largely predictable. Right after that, we're backstage with Shelton and Cedric getting in the face of Adam Pearce. They are pissed off, and they want Bobby Lashley. Cedric was pretty funny in this. He goes, Shelton wants him in a fight. And Shelton demands him in a fight. So he kind of like volunteers Shelton a little bit. And he goes, and if there's anything left with Bobby after Shelton's done with him, I want him next week. So they didn't really give Adam Pearce a chance to talk. They were really up in his face, and it was really intense. And I actually liked that they were getting mad and, calling Bobby out for his jaw-dropping hypocrisy. And they get in the face of Adam and really intimidate him. This poor fucking guy has got the most stressful job, whether he's on SmackDown or he is on Raw. His life is in constant jeopardy. He's got Roman up his ass. He's got angry dudes yelling at him on Raw. He is never safe, this poor guy. I hope they pay him well for this bullshit job he has. After that, we get Sheamus versus Matt Riddle in the ring. Now, I thought this would go one or two ways. Either Riddle would just get flat out pinned, or there'd be some screwy finish and they'd set up a Mania match. Either way, that leads to the Mania match, because if Riddle gets pinned, then that's going to earn Sheamus a shot. And if there's a DQ or some bullshit, then they're going to do the Mania match anyway. So again, this match is only here because Raw is 3 hours. Without a 3-hour Raw, skip this bullshit and just make the match for WrestleMania. But they have to do it here first. Sheamus, as we've been accustomed to saying lately in regards to his matches, he had a good one. Solid match, as usual, with Sheamus and Riddle. Sheamus came out with the clean victory in this, beating Matt Riddle. I think did he hit him with the bro kick? I forgot how he even beat him, but he beat him, and that was the point. Just beat Riddle. Holy shit, now you got to make the U.S. title match, and it was later on here in the show that I think that was made actually official. After this fucking shit, we get more of Shane McMahon and Braun Strowman in this whole saga. So you've got Shane McMahon, Elias, and Jackson Riker in the ring. Shane's cutting a promo, and they go on just to make fun and bully and troll Braun Strowman some more. They show his 5th grade report card on the screen. Apparently, Shane found this. It's his real report card, totally legit. If you don't believe me, just look. It was definitely real. And props to WWE. I think we should give them credit, because the report card proved that WWE allows Braun Strowman to work under his real name. That's his real name, Braun Strowman. Said it right there on the report card. And if that's not proof, what is? So for them to allow him to use his real name and not change it up and give him a gimmick, props to WWE for doing that. But anyway, it was pretty mean of Shane to show what kind of a student Braun was in the 5th grade, because he was a fucking dumbass. He got D's all over the place, all sorts of comments that Braun is disruptive. He lacks basic problem-solving skills. I've been able to tell that just from watching Raw. And he needs summer school. And it also requires a parent's signature, which was perfectly signed Mr. Strowman, which is funny. And then Shane pulls up an image on the Tron there of Strowman with a dunce hat and saying 2 + 2 is 5, and then writes like "I am stupid" a bunch of times underneath that. So anyway, more shitting on Strowman there, more bullying of Strowman. Of course, Strowman comes out. He's going to be taking on Jackson Riker, which this poor guy is just fed to the fucking lions. I mean, his character is basically like, okay, we're going to provoke this crazed lunatic, this oversized monster moose, half man that's batshit nuts. We're going to provoke him, piss him off, and then just put you right in front of him. Yeah, thanks, guys. So he faces Jackson Riker. He beats him, of course. They do the train noise again when he does the running around the ring. Thigh slaps, unacceptable. Train noises when somebody runs, totes fine. Strowman then picks up the mic, and after he beats Jackson Riker, because Shane, I believe it was last week or the week before, he said that Strowman can select the stipulation for what the match is going to be at WrestleMania. So Strowman decides to do that now. Drum roll, please. He picks cage match. Cage match. See the problem with having Hell in the Cell pay-per-views and shit? He should have said, Hell in the Cell, I want to get you in there. He basically says he wants a cage match so Shane can't get away. Pretty sure Shane can get away of a cage. He got out of a cell, he can get out of a cage. And this should be child's play for him. I'm not totally sure. I know we've talked about this before in the past on the podcast. Is this only cage match number 2? We have not had one other than Hogan and Bundy at 2, correct? Unless I'm missing one somewhere, but usually you don't need a cage because, WrestleMania is usually designed for bigger matches than that. You don't do, TLC matches and shit like that. So I think the days when we would have had a cage match would have probably been within like 1987 and 1997, like in that little 10-year span there. Otherwise, once the Hell in the Cell crew was created, that was used. They did Hell in the Cell at WrestleMania 15. They did one at 28. They did one at 32. Help me out. Another one maybe that we've seen at WrestleMania. So you don't really need cage matches at WrestleMania. They're not really a big enough match, to have. I mean, they don't mean what they meant in the 70s. I mean, 70s and 80s, cage match solved everything, but not anymore. And it was just kind of a weird pick, kind of adding to this idea that Strowman really is kind of fucking dumb, because if he could have picked any stipulation he wanted, I'd pick a Lion's Den. I'd pick a fight pit match. I'd pick something to where there is absolutely no way Shane can get out of there. Where Shane can get out of this pretty easily. All he has to do is climb. He'll be up to the top of that cage before Braun even recognizes he started moving. So I think that's just a silly choice by Braun Strowman. A little dumb, but it kind of goes with the Braun Strowman territory, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, so it is. Yeah, it's the first cage match at Mania since WrestleMania 2, which is just bizarre. This is our 37th WrestleMania. How the fuck have we only had one of these matches? But it makes a lot of sense, because by the time we got to 97, then you had the creation of the Hell in the Cell. Then you started getting real crazy with TLC matches and other sort of concepts like that. And it really did kind of make the cage match obsolete. But cage matches still have a use. You can still do them on pay-per-views. We've seen great ones, Raws, SmackDowns, things like that. So this is going to look real weird at WrestleMania. Just a regular old cage match. And I think if Braun was smart, if he really didn't want Shane to get out, you'd put a top on that cage and have him in a Hell in the Cell. But they don't want to fucking worry about that. Suspending that damn red stupid thing at WrestleMania would look stupid anyway. So anyway. Yeah, and we'll see. And especially if this match is an escape the cage rule, if that's what Shane has to do to win this match, he's going to win it in 5 seconds. So Strowman, I don't know. I don't give a shit about this angle at all. It's so dumb. And I'm sure, we were all hoping that Shane was going to be a pirate ship match so Shane could fall off the pirate ship. I still think he will, because with a cage match, they've set themselves up here to not be counted out. You can't be counted out of a cage match, correct? So if Shane gets out, when he gets out, or if Braun just throws him through the cage and it breaks and they find themselves up. I don't think this match is going to end in the cage. I think it's going to end on whatever Shane might fall off of. I don't know. So we'll see. I think there's still room for Shane to get out of here and to go find something to dive off of, but, you know, we'll see. Either way, I don't care. I don't like the angle, and we're just going to watch this for the big Shane stunt, I'm sure. We then get the Miz and Morrison dirt sheet. They're out there to debut their brand new hit single, Hey, Hey, Hop, Hop. And they did, and we watched it. What else is there to say? I'm watching this, and I'm like, I think all of us need to reevaluate our lives. I mean, I'm watching this. I'm like, what am I doing? You know, what am I doing with my life? My God. So they play that whole thing. The only thing about the segment I liked was when Morrison said, if you're wondering why his hair is so big, it's because it's filled with secrets. And I mentioned that John Morrison looks exactly like the type of person that I thought people in the future would look like when I was a kid. Like, that's exactly what I thought they would look like. Crazy sunglasses, big hair, weird ass clothes. That's the way he dresses. So after they show the video, Bad Bunny and Damian Priest then come out. A little jaw jacking back and forth on the mic between the two. Miz and Morrison hop outside of the ring now. They're on the ramp there with both of them. And Priest stands in front of them. And they're like, oh, yeah, you're protecting Bad Bunny. He's like, oh, no, I'm not. And he steps out of the way and allows Miz to go up and step up to Bad Bunny. And the Miz does and gets decked right in the face. So Bad Bunny punches the Miz. It was a pretty good looking punch, I guess. And then there's a scuffle and a brawl and, you know, whatever. We're getting Bad Bunny and the Miz at WrestleMania. Here we thought they would add a tag match or do a tag match, but it looks like it's legit going to be one-on-one. And Priest and Morrison are just going to be supporting cast members here. After that, get a pretty good promo by Randy Orton backstage. And I think a lot of us forget, I know I forget, he's the heel in all of this, which is just kind of weird. I kind of remembered that when I read the reactions about WWE wanting the fans to boo him and shit for the Thunderdome when he comes out. And he's got a pretty intense promo, pretty pissed off still, says he sees what he's dealing with now that he sees the relationship and the hold that Alexa Bliss has and how powerful she is in this whole thing. He knows kind of how to not conquer this, and he vows to beat them in Mania, yada, yada. Very good stuff. Good promo by Randy Orton there. Then we go to the ring to get our Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin match. Very sad to see this match happen because I was a big Hurt Business fan. But, you know, I'm not, for some reason, as much as I was on the Hurt Business bandwagon, and I loved them as much as I did, I find myself being less mad about it than other people. Like when I saw social media tonight, everybody was just bitching about the Hurt Business, and I agree. I don't want it to be broken up either, but I had already kind of lost faith in it when they were teasing dissension on the very same night that Cedric and Shelton won the tag team titles, even in the match. And prior to that, like the week before, 2 weeks before that, they even won the tag titles. Cedric was already starting to act like a loose cannon, and you already had problems in there. You could already feel the tension. You could feel the dissension. You could feel that they were probably going to run into problems down the road. So when that continued, when they were champs, they were even losing a lot of matches as champs. It was just like, I was like kind of over them. I think Shelton and Cedric are great members of the Hurt Business, and all you got to do is just book them stronger, and they will be an amazing faction. But they didn't. The only person they really did protect in that whole group was Lashley, nobody else. So the fact that they're going to be trimming some of this fat here, I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm sad to see the Hurt Business go, but it's almost maybe for the better considering that these guys are weak links. Now, there is one idea that I do like, and that maybe, but it would be weird based on what we saw tonight. And then maybe it turns out that Shelton and Cedric either rejoin Lashley, or maybe it's a ruse just to throw Drew off, keep his head looking in other directions while the Hurt Business, you know, comes back together and puts him down before Mania or whatever. I don't know. But at least for right now, the Hurt Business is no more. And Lashley might have another ally, as we'll talk about later. Right after we had to deal with the Hey Hey Hop Hop video and all that shit, literally like 20 minutes later, we now have got a New Day and AJ Styles and Omos game night. These four guys had a little interaction, I think backstage. No, Drew and AJ and Omos ran into each other backstage. They might have done a deal with New Day as well. I think they did. I barely watched any of that shit. So now you come out to the ring and they got all this shit set up. They got Jenga, they got Pictionary, and they got charades, and they got all this crap, and it's got all these cute graphics, and the ring is all decorated. And you get everybody out there, and they're all entertaining. They're all fun. As a matter of fact, all this dumb shit aside, I'm warming up to the AJ and Omos kind of pairing there, because at first it was so random. It looked so ridiculous seeing AJ with this monster dude. But now it's like they're kind of developing a little bit of a chemistry. You're seeing a few more sides of Omos, different outfits, his mauve shirt and shit like that. And, he's speaking a little bit. You're getting to know his personality somewhat. And AJ and him seem like they are developing some kind of a chemistry. And I think AJ is like going that extra mile to make sure this big young guy gets over. Really, it's smart when you think about it. The WWE is putting someone like him in the hands of a veteran and a pro like AJ. You add New Day to that too. This guy's very first match ever, he's going to be surrounded with 3 guys that know what the fuck they're doing. And they're going to handle him and take care of him well. So, in a lot of ways, I can actually appreciate not only this match, but the pairing of AJ and Omos a lot more than I did before. At first, I was kind of against it. Thought it was just a weird thing for him to do. But now, AJ's my age. AJ is approaching his mid 40s. Do some good when you get into this point in your career. Try to give back, kind of thing. And I think that's the role that he might be stuck in here, or put in here with Omos, just to kind of get his feet wet, get the ball rolling on his career. And looking back, if Omos ever becomes something big, because I think he's only the second or third tallest person in WWE history. He's got, he's got a big leg up on the competition there, literally. So if he's able to be a success, he'll look back to these days and saying, man, if it worked for those early days of Kofi, Xavier, AJ holding my hand through shit, I might not be the man I am today. That might be something he says on an Austin podcast in 5 or 7 years, So I look at that when I see, guys of the future, I want them taken care of, and I think he'll be in good hands here. But in terms of the segment, it was so fucking bad. We had already dealt with so much silliness, not only with Matt Riddle already, but then with Miz and Morrison and all that nonsense. And then we literally go right into this. So we've got charades first. Both teams take a try. New Day's very good at this. AJ and Omos. Omos doesn't do anything. AJ has to do all the work. And that just ends in a brawl. I barely watch. I just had to walk out of the room. I was just disgusted by the whole thing. I leave. I think we go to commercial. We come back. It's 1-on-1. AJ Styles versus Xavier Woods. Xavier beats him via DQ. Omos interferes. I think nails Woods. Referee calls for the bell. Then he attacks Kofi, picks him up over his head, throws him over the barricade into the Thunderdome, and then destroys Xavier Woods in the ring with a big kind of like powerbomb type of move. So giving you a little bit of a glimpse of what Omos can actually do in there and his mobility and things like that. Should be interesting to see him at WrestleMania and what kind of gear he's going to be working in. What do you guys think? Is he going to wear like tights? Is he going to wear the Andre thing? I really hope they don't have him wrestling in like pants, you know what I mean? Like jeans or dress pants and shoes or something like that, or one of those shirts. I hope he's got some cool looking gear of some kind. It's probably got to be simple, but maybe even like what Khali had. That would be all right. Some longer, more baggy pants. But I really hope he's not wearing like slacks and shit, because he kind of dresses in suits. You know what I mean? So I guess he's probably gonna have to work more like dress like Khali, probably more than the Big Show, I would think. But we'll see. Anyway, that was the end of that nonsense. Then we cut backstage to Alexa's playground. She's sitting there on the swing. It's the backstage setting that she's in. And she's got the Jack in the Box. And she talks about that he's in it. And she jangles it and it pops open. And then the Fiend just turns up sitting right next to her on the swing set. Pretty eerie looking sight there, but cool. And I don't even know what she said. I know she said Fiend in a box and something else. But anyway, just hyping up their match for WrestleMania. The Fiend definitely looks scary. I like the little rumor I heard earlier this week that maybe the Fiend is Bo Dallas, and that, Bray is going to maybe come back and they're going to double doink this shit at WrestleMania. That might be kind of interesting. But I guess, the Fiend is going to wind up getting revenge on Randy Orton and beating him at WrestleMania in some way. And the way Randy Orton was talking earlier on in the night about Alexa Bliss in his promo, I still think there is time to make this some sort of a fucking handicap match or something and put Alexa in the mix here. And I think maybe on the other side of WrestleMania, maybe Alexa Bliss targets the Raw Women's title. What do y'all think? After WrestleMania, I think it's possible with the work she's done here, or if this Fiend shit continues, because with a gimmick this crazy like the Fiend and all the shit that he's in, unless after this match with Randy Orton, assuming that Bray Wyatt wins that, unless he does another gimmick change again and he's no longer wrestling as the smoldering pile of coals, and he might change up his look to a little bit more what it used to be, or maybe a rebirth now that he's exercised this demon kind of thing. I don't know. But just with what's going on with him and Alexa, I just don't know how you can continue this for so long and keep the mystique up. Same problem they had with the other Fiend, as a matter of fact, until and then they ruined it with Goldberg after they had recovered from the already ruined it once with the Hell in the Cell and Seth, and then they ruined it twice. So we'll see if third time's a charm for WWE, and then we'll just fuck this whole thing up. They probably will. Then we get Drew McIntyre backstage. This is a segment that got much praise from the fans. A lot of people had great things to say about this, and Drew McIntyre's promo was an intensity here. I didn't like it as much as other people. I thought it was okay, but Drew is now clearly agitated because he knows Lashley is going around basically offering up the entire locker room a chance to replace Drew. All they got to do is whip his ass. So Drew, I can understand his concern because now he literally has 60 guys coming after him, and he's going to have his head on a swivel. So now he's pissed, and he's not going to wait around for somebody to attack him. He's going to go right to the source. So he storms in on the locker room. You see guys like Ricochet sitting there, Kalisto, Braun Strowman is like putting on his shoes. You got Humberto Carrillo, Angel Garza is over there. And he just barges into to the locker room. Come on, anybody's got the balls to step up. Hit me right here. I'm right here. Come on, take me out. You want a chance at the title? And he's just really, really, really riled up. I mean, he's fired up big. So he's screaming at everybody. Passes by Strowman once, comes back to him, and again, Strowman finally stands up. And he's like, "Don't worry. After I'm done with Shane McMahon, and if you beat Bobby Lashley, I'm going to get the first shot at you or whatever." And then just kind of goes back to putting his shoes on, which is just hilarious to me. So McIntyre is just, salivating at the opportunity to fight someone. He wants to basically somebody to try to, try him in the locker room so he can whip their ass. And finally, Ricochet, he runs into Ricochet. He steps up to him. They kind of have a little conversation, and Ricochet talks about their friendship and their history, and then says, "You know what? I'll do it in the ring. Why don't we have the match in the ring?" And Drew is like, "Okay, I can respect that." So that's a match that I've praised several times because I never remember any matches, but for some reason I remember that one from just a couple of years ago, King of the Ring qualifier on Raw. Tremendous match. Ricochet beat McIntyre completely clean. Remember when they cared about Ricochet? And so that was not going to be the case here in this match. We would know that. So anyway, that was good stuff from McIntyre, very kind of annoyed that Lashley is putting him in this position, and he's trying to just stay ahead of it and make sure he can take out whoever is planning to take him out. So we would see that come to be later on in the main event with what they did there. After that, another pointless one-on-one match, this time between Shayna Baszler and Naomi. Everybody and their fucking mother is out there. We've got Lana with Naomi backing her up. We've got Nia Jax backing up Shayna Baszler. We got Reginald backing up Nia Jax. We also have Mandy, Rose, and Dana Brooke on commentary. Way too much shit going on here. All sorts of confusion. Everybody gets involved and has something to do in this match. In the end, Naomi pins Shayna during the confusion. Pointless match, totally skippable. Then we get the brilliant spot. Had to make it the thumbnail. Why not, right? This show's got nothing else going for it. So we're backstage. We cut backstage to just an adorable looking mixed match tag team. If they can make these two an actual team for that, next time they do one, that would be great. Riddle and Asuka. And it starts off well. Riddle talking about his scooter. Check out my scooter. It's all fixed. I got it back. Do they have scooters in Japan? And Asuka, she's reacting. And then Riddle just starts trailing off. And he's like, fuck, I forgot what I was going to say. And then just rides off camera. And that definitely was not scripted. There was no way that was the intent, because you could even see him breaking character in his face. He wasn't trying to be like, "Whoa, bro." He was just trying to be like, "I fucking forgot." And he might have just had a quick brain fart there. Maybe he was partaking in the green gimmick in his car in the parking lot before the show, but he just forgot that it's live, pal. And he just rolled right off. So I thought maybe he could do a retake, or maybe he thought he could do a retake. Whatever it was, that was great. We needed that on the show. Something like that wasn't something that upset me. This show has sucked balls up until this point. So seeing something like that was kind of nice. I'm glad that happened. So Riddle and Asuka backstage, that was great. That was the highlight of the show for me. Then we go to the ring and a segment that I thought was going to be great. I thought this was going to be the main event. I thought everything was going to be surrounding Asuka and Rhea Ripley, and it was not at all. They were out there in the ring. Adam Pearce is there with the table set up. Both women come out. They both say a couple of things on the mic and sign the contract, and Rhea Ripley then slams Asuka's head really hard into the table. She goes down, and then the women's tag team champions come out. Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler are back out there again on the stage. Nia says Asuka should be ashamed for picking Rhea Ripley just because she asked, when there's so many other women that are more worthy of a title shot. And next week, she proposes a tag match. Why don't you two team up and get in the ring with us so we can beat you up? is basically what she said. So real creative, WWE. So rare to do that. Two baby faces with a match against each other on the horizon. Let's team them up. That's never done. Oh my God. Talk about just doing it to death. Enough is enough. Is my volume okay? Let me do a quick sound check real quick. I guess so. Feel like I want a little higher. There we go. Sorry. Anyway, so that was that match set for next week. Tag match on the Go Home show. Ripley and Asuka tagging up. You know, there's gonna be a problem there. One of them probably get pinned by Nia or Shayna, and they'll lose the match and they'll fight in their brawl, and that will be the final setup between the actual match at WrestleMania between them. And that leaves us now with kind of like the final segment here, which was a combination of matches and a promo and a brawl and an attack and all this stuff. Starts off with Drew McIntyre taking on Ricochet. Not a big surprise. He beats Ricochet. Beats him rather handily there. After the match, he's then attacked from behind by Ali. Mustafa Ali comes out there. He's wearing these cool-looking kind of green tights. He looks pretty good. I don't know if it's just no more retribution. He's just back to being Ali now. And he attacks Drew. And then Drew fights him off and then says, why don't you just fight me right now? And I think we go to commercial and then they have a match, right? So Drew has a match with him next and then beats him. And that draws out Bobby Lashley, who comes out at the end. Big confrontation with McIntyre in the middle of the ring. Promo by both, you know, Drew getting in Lashley's face. And Drew, another thing that Drew had done twice tonight was that he put over Lashley. He put over his toughness and his badness and all this shit. Drew should be, for a guy that was so fired up and intense, you know, he really should be madder at Lashley than he is. Lashley fucked him royally at the Elimination Chamber. Now he's walking around with his belt and he's putting him over about how tough he is. And now the guy's trying to hire people and bribe people into attacking you and assaulting you physically to take you out of your WrestleMania payday and take food off of your table. And you're going to put him over, talk about what a badass he is. No, you would want to fucking murder this guy. So I think Drew is as fired up as he was, should even be more fired up than he is. So they kind of have a promo. They're beefing back and forth. I think they might even brawl, right? Can't remember if they start fighting or not. I think they do. That's when, of all people, as if we hadn't sat through enough nonsense tonight, we get a nice little cherry on top in the form of our best friend, Baron Corbin, from SmackDown, hits the ring, attacks Drew McIntyre. Lashley and Corbin together beat the shit out of McIntyre, leave him laying, as Lashley celebrates over Drew's body with the title, and he stands side by side with Baron Corbin. I think the announcers, by the way, MVP sat in on announcing tonight. I think Joe was not there. Somebody filled me in on that. It's something I noticed. So the announcers are selling it like, oh, word of Lashley's offer must have spread to SmackDown. We got SmackDown guys showing up here now, so I guess that's legal and fine. So Corbin then attacks, and now he's side by side with Lashley. But it's not like, did he take Drew out of Mania? Did he do what Lashley wanted him to do? Is he now going to face Lashley at Mania? No. And I don't know if Lashley's forming an actual new faction or new alliance here. But, you know, Baron Corbin might be something new for him to do. Be on Raw now and be a member of the Hurt Business. Why not? He kind of fits the mold. He likes to wear suits. He's got some legitimate fighting experience in his background, right? As much as we don't like Baron Corbin, we hate his dumb bald head and his ugly stupid face, I think he kind of fits, sort of, in that if Lashley wants to do what Farouk did and fire a couple guys of the members of the faction and bring in new ones, maybe that's what he's doing here, cutting the dead weight, you know, and the weak links and bringing in some new power that maybe under the tutelage of MVP and with the attitude that Lashley and MVP have, maybe that can, you know, unleash a killer in Corbin that's there too. But man, it's like around WrestleMania time, if you want to have some wrestler hit the ring in your final segment of your show during WrestleMania season, Baron goddamn Corbin, are you kidding me? Come on, WWE. I wouldn't even totally be against a change of scenery for Corbin. I wouldn't even be totally against Corbin joining the Hurt Business or anything like that. It's just, this feels like this is what they're giving us in the main event. Corbin is not liked. Nobody likes him. I will defend him because I think fans are taking a little bit too far. Once fans start going too far, that's usually when I realize that the person probably doesn't deserve a lot of that heat. We had the big debate months back when I was like, you know, there were some people that were actually telling me that if WWE released Baron Corbin, that AEW wouldn't sign him. I'm like, the fucking hell they wouldn't. He'd be on fucking Dynamite the very next Wednesday in the main event. Don't be acting like they don't want him. Fuck you. They do. But we can all agree that Corbin isn't our favorite guy to see on TV. That I will admit. So for him to be the big, kind of surprise here in the end, and I guess he's going to be the guy, at least right now, to attempt to take out, like, how does this work? He was standing side by side with Lashley. Is his job done? Does he get the match now? Or I don't know. What do we see? I mean, obviously we're getting Lashley and McIntyre. Nobody's going to stop that from happening at WrestleMania. But, Corbin, that's who they brought. When you got a lot of other guys that could have just done this, who you're maybe not using or we haven't seen in a while. So I don't know. Maybe after WrestleMania, Baron Corbin's going to be on Raw. There have been talks about moving some stuff around. We even talked about on Saturday that maybe Roman Reigns drops the belt, comes to Raw. Could be. Could be a good time for Brock to show back up too and see what's going to happen with those two when they come face to face for the first time. Who knows? Maybe the best lies after WrestleMania. Maybe the best stuff is still yet to come. Apparently, WWE, there's still no confirmation from WWE's end on the Thunderdome stuff, but apparently it is going to be in the Yuengling Center, and I think they have like a 4-month contract, so they're still planning another 4 months without fans at least before that starts happening. So maybe they want to shuffle some shit around. I don't know. But anyway, that was your Raw in a nutshell, for fuck's sake. Let me go over and answer some super chats and questions in the chat room here, see if you guys have anything else you want to talk about. I'd appreciate a thumbs up since this is not a great Monday Night Raw tonight. Anything you can do to help me there, I'd appreciate. I'm going to go back up to the chat here and answer some questions. Where'd we go? There we go. All right. Let me just make sure I don't miss anybody. I'm going to scroll up a little bit further. Oh, I believe it, Deshaun. Let me make sure I didn't miss anybody, though, before I answer that. Okay, there we go. So I did hear that did have a smack. I wasn't sure if it was edited, but it must have been live because Matt Riddle's shit was live. But Deshaun is telling me that Ringside News reported that Bad Bunny's punch was real. It sounded real. I thought they might have added the smack sound effect, but he hit the Miz and you heard it, and it looked good. But I also was kind of making notes and watching at the same time, so I just thought maybe I missed a piece of editing or something that WWE did, but wouldn't be surprised because that was a stiff looking punch there. I don't know. We'll have to see what the rest of the interwebs say. Zane G, appreciate 5 from you. For everyone that Drew McIntyre has picked on in the backstage segment, I'm calling it now. Next week, Corbin versus McIntyre in a lumberjack match. Oh yeah, could be Corbin and McIntyre next week. We're going to get that match on the go home. One big last test for the challenger, totally. And if they do add the lumberjack stipulation, it'd be a good way for Lashley to really stack the deck against McIntyre in that potentially. So, we'll see. Baron Corbin's mid-card of evil. Zane G, appreciate the 5 more from you. How about the face-off between Strowman and McIntyre? Good stuff. Yeah, I guess it was good, but we've seen Strowman. Strowman's already been humbled. Strowman already looks like a shit stain now. I mean, he got notwithstanding what Shane did to him a couple of weeks ago. He had the match with Lashley, right? Just 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and Lashley just kind of tapped him out. He's kind of out of the picture in my mind. But yeah, I guess it was good stuff, the face-off between the two. But again, it wasn't a face-off that was like, ooh, I can't wait till they hook up. Like, yeah, I can wait. I have no interest in seeing it. Yeah, at the Sundome until August 3rd. So they'll be there at least through the summer, or at least through near the end of the summer there, before they start maybe traveling, hitting the road, doing some more stuff with fans and shit like that. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what they wind up doing. Greetings from India, Solo Hack. Good to see you, man. What's up? Oh, I didn't. Yeah, anonymous one. I didn't catch that. Was MVP on commentary during that ending, and he said, "This is the Hurt Business." Yeah, I'd be fine with that. I'd be fine if Baron Corbin joined the Hurt Business. To me, it feels a little bit more like he's just going to face Drew and get beat next week, and it gives them some sort of, I guess, quality opponent to put against McIntyre on the go-home show. I don't know, but if he is there more permanently, I'd actually be okay with that. Like I said, I think Baron Corbin kind of fits. He kind of fits the attitude. He likes to wear suits. He used to fight legitly. he might fit more. He might fit better than people think. I know everybody's instinct is to resist him, but think it through. It might actually fit more than you think. We'll see. Raw was like gonorrhea. It never goes away. Well, it did. Luckily, it did. Okay, I got you. There we go. Sorry. I had to move some windows around there because I could not see the chat. Now I see it. There we go. Yeah, I meant to mention that. I meant to put that in my news there earlier on. I forgot, but it was reported earlier on today on social media by ESPN that Charlie Caruso is now going to be full-time with ESPN. She signed a multi-year deal with them. She is apparently now gone from WWE. She's gone back to being Charlie, what's her last name? Arnault or something like that. So she's now signed. That's a big career move for her, and we're very happy for her. So we gave her a little reminder on Twitter today just to remember that DP stands for double play, and don't be late. Best of luck to Charlie. We love her. We'll miss her, but glad to hear that she's moving on to something that she really seems to be happy about. I mean, that's a big gig. We all thought we were going to lose Renee Young to ESPN for so long. You know, felt like WWE is going to be a stepping stone for her to some real big, major news outlet. And it looks like Charlie is heading in that direction now. So best of luck to her. Going to be sad to see her go, but WWE will be just fine. They'll have people to pick up to fill the shoes, and all will be well. So we'll see her on First Take and whatever else she does. I don't watch many ESPN shows these days anymore. I used to watch all that shit years ago, but I haven't even seen her on ESPN, so I wasn't even aware that she really did stuff there. I'm completely mentally checked out of basketball. Don't give a rat's ass about March Madness. I haven't filled out a bracket in like 8 years. Don't care. So whatever's going on there, I don't know. Yeah, go hook up Diet Vodka with a like on a stream. Oh wait, I thought you meant mine. I thought you meant yours, Diet. You meant mine. Yeah, do what he says. Do the like here too. That's all right. We got a low engagement tonight because tonight's Raw was just really bad. Real bad. All right, enough of you. I hate people like that. Jesus. Zane G, appreciate the 5, dude. Of the 3 WrestleMania matches between Rock and Austin, which was your least favorite? 15. The one I was at was my least favorite. Did not like it at all. Yeah, but WrestleMania 15 just wasn't very good. I mean, it wasn't. It just didn't have like the big WrestleMania main event feel to it that like Shawn and Austin had the year before. And then Rock and Austin would do much better 2 years after that. And then 2 years after that, they'd wrestle what every other year, right? At WrestleMania for 6 years. So I think 15 just didn't feel like it was all together. Everything was just kind of a mess. Remember Austin like forgot his gear and he came out in the t-shirt. Rock was fresh off the surgery. He was wearing like the tracksuit in all of his matches, and he finally kind of went back to being the old Rock. And the whole WrestleMania up until that point wasn't even a very good show. And it was predictable. You knew Austin was going to win that. Yeah, CM Punk's not coming back, but if I was him, I'd be coming back to AEW. Think about the payday he could get. I would take full advantage of that billionaire and be like, yeah, pay me. That'll be $25 million, please, and I will work 1 year, 6 matches. Sign me up. There we go. All right. Well, it doesn't look like much is happening here in the chat. I'm just trying to read through some other stuff in case I missed it. So I'm probably just going to get out of here tonight and kind of cut tonight's episode short because Raw didn't give us a whole lot to chew on. You know, we've got WrestleMania. Well, let's run through the WrestleMania card, I guess. Let me at least do that for us. So we can at least look at the matches that we have. We still have, I guess, a tag match that'll probably be made. We mentioned Sheamus and Riddle on Saturday. We knew that would get made tonight. So I'm guessing on Friday, they'll probably put the tag match together with the Mysterios and Rude and Ziggler. And other than that, aside from the Battle Royals, which you guys help me out, are they still doing that or not? Aside from the Battle Royals, that should be about it on the matches. All right, so here's the full preview here. Here's what they got according to WWE.com. Roman versus Edge versus Daniel Bryan for the Universal title. Lashley versus Drew McIntyre. Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Raw tags. New Day taking on AJ Styles and Omos. The Fiend versus Randy Orton. Asuka versus Ripley for the Raw Women's title. Bad Bunny versus The Miz. Strowman versus Shane McMahon. Cesaro versus Seth Rollins. Big E. IC title defense against Apollo Crews. And Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. So that's, they have added Sheamus to that and Riddle, right? Or is that not on here yet? Did I just say that one? No, I don't see that one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we've got 12 if you add Sheamus and Riddle. 13 if you add the tag team title match for the Mysterios, Rude and Ziggler. If you do 2 Battle Royals, that'll be 15 matches. And I really can't think of anything else that's left other than the women's tags, which I guess might be Mandy Rose against Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. Wouldn't be surprised. There's a good pre-show match for you. That'll probably be the 16th match. Yeah, because you got to do the women's tags, right? You got to do those. So yeah, we'll get the SmackDown tags. We'll get the women's tags added. And yeah, then that should, and then the Battle Royals. So that'll be like 4 more matches. Yeah. All right. Looks like we've got a 16-match card, unless they add something crazy that we're not aware of, or we can't remember, or we don't know. That's what's coming up. Ike Moore, appreciate the $5 from you. I think WWE is lying about Rhea's height. She's 5'7". She's not 5'7". She's at least 5'10". If WWE is going to lie about a height, they usually don't go in the other direction. It's usually the other. I mean, they had Andre the Giant stand on a fucking box. That's not Vince. Vince doesn't go backwards. The only reason they would lie about her height is if they wanted to make her height an issue and call her short and shit. 5'7", Rhea? I don't know. I'd have to stand next to her, but yeah, I could see her being 5'7". I guess yeah, she seems like maybe a little taller, but yeah, I don't know. I think that's a weird thing to lie about. I could see them adding 3 inches. I can't see them taking 3 inches away. It's not really how they work. Diet Vodka. That caught me off guard the first time I read it. Appreciate the 2, dude. You think Raw after Mania will have a crowd and Hall of Fame? I don't know if it's going to have a crowd. I don't think it is. I think it's going to back to the Thunderdome. I think it's only going to be WrestleMania with the crowd. Because where are you going to put the crowd? You know, the Thunderdome's going to be back in, it's going to be in the Yingling, and they'd have to set it up all differently. So probably not, although, you know, maybe. I don't think so, though. And apparently the Hall of Fame is all going to be pre-taped and canned, and even the reactions are going to be canned because Thunderdome people were already asked to react to shit like laughing and cheering and applauding and stuff like that. So that's all just going to be spliced together, which is going to make it an interesting Hall of Fame. I feel like we haven't gotten the Hall of Fame in a while because it's been a couple years now. Last year we didn't get one at all. The year before was that really shitty setup that I was just not a fan of. They changed everything. They put it now in like this makeshift ring with a podium. Bret Hart, of course, got attacked by a crazy ass fan. I much preferred the old way. So this is going to be like the 3rd year in a row that I haven't gotten a Hall of Fame the way I really want it. But I am curious how it's going to come together, like how it's going to look and everything. And I hope they try to do it in a good way that's actually enjoyable to watch, because I'm going to be doing a review that night. I'm off that night. I'll be watching the Hall of Fame live, and we'll be up here right after it to talk about all the inductees and the speeches and all that stuff. So I really, really, really want it to be good. And I'm hoping that next year when it goes back to normal, they don't go back to that god-awful set the way they did in 2019, because I hated that. But we'll see. We'll see. Mike McGee, appreciate 5 more from you, dude. Congrats to Rob Van Dam on the Hall of Fame. Riddle needs to stop stealing his weed and acting like him. I know, man. Yeah, I'm happy for Rob Van Dam. He definitely needs to go in the Hall of Fame. Did they say who was inducting him? I think it might be Paul Heyman, but I'm not sure. Super happy for Van Dam. I put a picture on Twitter of he and I together from 20 years ago. Together. You'll laugh. Go on my Twitter page and look it up. Yeah, when you think about it, as of right now, Maka is right. As of right now, there is no Bayley and no Charlotte at WrestleMania. Charlotte, I can understand if she had the pregnancy scare and they nixed her out of the plans and now there might not be time to work her back in, but there's no excuses for Bayley. She should be hosting this goddamn thing, and the fact that she's sitting here with nothing to do is criminal. They'll set her up, though. She needs to do a ding-dong hello with a star of the past. I mentioned this weeks ago before we realized she might not be factored in. I'm like, she has got the personality now after the year she's had. She doesn't need a match. Give her a segment. Give her a segment against some returning legend. You know, I don't want to see a ding-dong hello with Hogan. Give me a ding-dong hello with fucking anybody else, man. Somebody's going to the Hall of Fame or something with Rob Van Dam. I don't know, anybody. Give her a fun segment, something to do in the ring that's memorable. You know, have her do something with The Rock or toast beers with Stone Cold Steve Austin, something like that. You know, would be good for me. And if Bayley is not advertised at all, I'd like to see her like turn up at Mania or do a run-in or interfere or have some sort of a presence as a surprise, or maybe even make that her gimmick. I mean, imagine if she's not on the show. You know, has she mentioned that on TV? Seems like her character would have something to say about that. What the fuck? How come I'm not on Mania? You know, how come Bayley hasn't spoke up about that? I don't know. We'll have to see. Anywho, I'm going. Charlotte was backstage tonight, but not used. We'll see if they shoehorn her in next week or not. We didn't miss anything, right? Because I was struggled to pay attention tonight. Rhea and Asuka, they both physically signed the contracts, right? They didn't do the deal where one of them didn't sign it or something like that. I know Asuka signed it. I saw her, but I don't remember if I saw Ripley even do it or not. So, provided it was all signed there, they'd really have to be wedging Charlotte in next week. But yeah, she might not be on the show at all. Or, you know, I mean, hey, you got a good promotional match there just waiting for you. You want to just put Bayley and Charlotte in the ring together. That's something they actually used to do a lot. Like, like a Batista and Umaga, or, all those like kind of Sean and Angle, those big like interpromotional matches that you would see at WrestleMania back when the brand extension was a little bit more stable to where these matches actually were cool to kind of see happen. Where if you put Bayley and Charlotte in there now, Jesus, we've seen that match 90,000 times, but, they are two, major names that currently are not challenging for a championship and they got nothing to do. Put them together. It can be your CM Punk versus Randy Orton match from WrestleMania 27. Same type of thing. Serves the same type of purpose. It can be your Seth Rollins and Cesaro, just on the women's side. I'd be into that, since they're both kind of sitting there and they're both two of the four. I mean, we only have one of the four horsewomen is going to be on this WrestleMania. Squeeze me? I don't think so. They better fix that shit. Fixed it and fix it soon. Okay, so they did sign. I thought so. I just want to make sure that I didn't miss nothing. Yeah, and the go home show was taped. I believe they're taping it Friday, I think. But they might tape it tomorrow. I don't know. So yeah. We'll be up here next week talking about the go home and really getting ourselves set for WrestleMania. Should be fun. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here now. You guys have a great night. Like I said earlier on in the podcast, you actually aren't going to see me for Saturday. It's time for me to start prepping for WrestleMania, so I'm going to work on that all week. You'll see me Saturday for the podcast, and then 1 week from tonight, we're back to kick off 7 consecutive days of streaming. 8, I think. It's going to be a hoot. So Monday to Monday. Y'all take care. Appreciate you being here, and I'll catch you Saturday for the Winged Eagle.